Tonight, the pressure growing on President Biden. George Clooney, one of his top fundraisers, calling on him to drop out of the race. The Hollywood superstar who co-hosted a fundraiser for the president just weeks ago, now writing that he's no longer the same man he was in 2020 and that the party needs a new nominee. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi suggesting he could still drop out, but warning time is running out as the president tries to unify his party and world leaders. And our announcement right here tonight, our exclusive one-on-one interview with the president, the details just ahead. Also tonight, tornadoes breaking out as Hurricane Beryl's remnants slam the Northeast. In Texas, more than 1 million without power in the dangerous heat. Terrifying takeoff the moment an American Airlines plane tire suddenly explodes. The disturbing video, a man dying after he was pinned down by hotel security guards, his family demanding answers. The opening statements in Alec Baldwin's Rust shooting trial. And our NBC News exclusive, speaking out for the first time, the sole survivor from the Baltimore bridge collapse that killed 6, including his nephew and brother-in-law. How he survived despite not knowing how to swim.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. It is increasingly looking like President Biden is doing battle with members of his own party as much as he is Donald Trump. The president's loyalists from Hollywood to Capitol Hill, including some notable names, now riding that deep wave of concern over the president's ability to go the distance against Donald Trump, with not just the presidency but control of Congress potentially at stake. There's been no change of heart from President Biden, who has made it clear he is still in the race. The president remaining visible today and in charge, hosting NATO leaders, all while new pressure for him to exit the race from some of his most prominent backers swirls around him. Senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has late details.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Tonight, while hosting dozens of world leaders at the NATO summit in Washington, President Biden is promoting unity and strength.
Today, we're stronger than we've ever been.
But that message comes as the president faces fresh calls to leave the race. Today, one of his most prominent Hollywood backers going off script. George Clooney, who hosted a star-studded fundraiser for the president just 3 weeks ago, writing a guest essay in the New York Times, arguing we are not going to win in November with this president, and urging Democrats to coalesce behind a new nominee. The actor making the case that the president he spent time with at the fundraiser had changed from prior elections, and that night was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. And this morning, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi became the highest-ranking Democrat to signal he could still drop out.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
A striking statement, considering the president has repeatedly said he has decided.
I'm staying in the race.
Pelosi later clarifying she still supports the president.
President Biden, is Nancy Pelosi still behind you, sir?
Still, top House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries has told worried lawmakers that he plans to relay their concerns to President Biden, 4 sources confirmed to NBC News. And senior Biden advisors are now set to brief Democratic senators at a special caucus luncheon tomorrow, after Michael Bennet of Colorado became the first sitting senator to say this publicly.
Donald Trump is on track, I think, to win this election and maybe win it by a landslide and take with him the Senate and the House.
The question now, will the floodgates open on Capitol Hill?
I am deeply concerned about Joe Biden winning this November. We have to reach a conclusion as soon as possible.
ABC's George Stephanopoulos apparently reaching his own conclusion, now acknowledging he should not have said this in a video posted on TMZ just days after interviewing the president.
What do you think? Do you think Biden should step down? You talked to him more than anybody else have lately, and you can be honest.
Tonight, the Biden campaign is promising more unscripted events to convince lawmakers, donors, and voters that the president is all in.
And Gabe, there's late word from Capitol Hill tonight about subpoenas regarding the president's health.
Yes, Lester, late today, the Republican-led House Oversight Committee said it had subpoenaed 3 senior White House aides, demanding they sit for depositions regarding the president's mental fitness.
The White House is calling it a baseless political stunt. Lester?
All right, Gabe, thank you. And join us Monday when I interview President Biden exclusively from the LBJ Presidential Library. The complete conversation airs in a primetime special starting at 9 p.m. Eastern as Savannah Guthrie and I lead our coverage for the start of the Republican convention. And former President Trump, ahead of that convention, is back on the trail and, as Garrett Hake explains, trying to capitalize on the newfound turmoil in the race.
Former President Donald Trump back on the campaign trail overnight, newly lashing out at President Biden's debate performance.
Joe's own party now wants him to throw in the towel and surrender the presidency after a single 90-minute performance.
Mr. Trump suggesting without evidence that President Biden's poor debate performance was the culmination of a collapsing Democratic cover-up.
They are all co-conspirators in the sinister plot to defraud the American public about the cognitive abilities of the man in the Oval Office.
The former president faced questions about his own mental fitness from within his own party as recently as the GOP primary.
But when you're dealing with the pressures of a presidency, we can't have someone else that we question whether they're mentally fit to do this.
Mr. Trump previewing the platform he'll promote at next week's Republican convention.
And on day one, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. We have no choice.
And teasing his upcoming choice of a running mate, expected to come from a short list that includes Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
We know who our nominee is. He's going to be the next president of the United States, and his name is...
In a radio interview today, Mr. Trump said he was, quote, pretty well set on his VP selection, but might wait even until the convention opens next week to announce his choice, drawing out the drama for maximum political impact. Lester?
All right, Garrett Hake, thank you. Tonight, more than 1 million people remain without power in summer heat of Houston, Texas, as the remnants of Hurricane Beryl are still causing severe weather halfway across the country. Kathy Park has the latest.
Tonight, as Beryl makes an exit, a final act packed with destructive winds, relentless rain, and even tornadoes in the Northeast. But it's the extreme heat threatening more than 130 million across the country. Alerts stretching from Florida to Maine. At least 10 suspected heat-related deaths in Oregon. And misery for millions in southeast Texas, still cleaning up from Beryl and sweltering as temps climb back into the 90s. Distribution sites becoming a hot spot for people in need of food and water.
The storm wasn't nothing compared to this here, 100 degrees sitting in the house.
Patients pushed to the limit among the more than 1 million who remain without power for a third straight day.
The heat is getting so unbearable. Ice is now a precious commodity, so much so folks are willing to wait in line for it.
We have no way to keep our food cold. So that's why I have the ice to put it in a cooler.
Houston's largest utility under fire for its response as they race to restore power.
CenterPoint will have to answer for themselves if they were prepared and if they were positioned.
CenterPoint Energy says it has restored power to more than 900,000 customers, but a timeline of full restoration is still unknown. Lester?
All right, Kathy Park, thank you. We'll turn now to the terrifying moments aboard an American Airlines flight as it was taking off today in Tampa. Video capturing the moment. One of the tires suddenly exploded on the plane that was bound for Phoenix. The airline says 174 passengers and 6 crew members were on board. No injuries were reported. In Milwaukee, the family of an unarmed man who died after being held down by hotel security guards is demanding answers and accountability. The incident recorded on cell phone video. Maggie Vespa has late details and a warning. Some of the video is disturbing.
To see them beat him repeatedly over and over and over again. They didn't stop. They could have stopped. They could have let him go, and they didn't.
Tonight in Wisconsin, a distraught wife demanding justice in the death of Devontae Mitchell after family says they viewed surveillance video from Milwaukee's Hyatt Regency Hotel that showed the 43-year-old husband and father running scared through the lobby on Sunday, June 30th, at one point ducking into a women's restroom before police say being detained by hotel security, leading to this moment.
Stay down! Please stop fighting! Stay down!
Cell phone video recorded by a witness shows Mitchell, who family says may have been suffering from a mental health episode, crying out as he's held face down by 4 people identified by police as hotel security, one appearing to notice the witness. Milwaukee police saying Mitchell had fought with security guards who detained him until police arrived. They say officers found Mitchell unresponsive and he later died. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump says one of the men who held him down, a front desk employee, claims he told security guards Mitchell couldn't breathe but was ordered to keep holding him.
To the district attorney, we don't know what else we need to present to you to bring charges.
10 days after Mitchell's death, the DA says they're awaiting full autopsy results and reviewing this case as a homicide. Meanwhile, Hyatt says the group who manages the hotel has suspended the employees involved. Lester.
All right, Maggie Vespa, thank you. Was he being reckless with a gun or simply doing his job as an actor? Conflicting portrayals of Alec Baldwin today in opening statements at the actor's involuntary manslaughter trial in New Mexico. NBC's Chloe Malas is there.
Alec Baldwin was reckless by pointing a gun and pulling the trigger, according to prosecutors during opening statements today.
The evidence will show that someone who played make-believe with a real gun and violated the cardinal rules of firearm safety is the defendant.
The Santa Fe prosecution painting a picture to jurors of a seasoned actor with careless behavior on the 2021 film set Rust.
You will see him put his finger on the trigger when his finger's not supposed to be on the trigger.
The prosecution says they'll prove the revolver that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins could not have fired a bullet without Baldwin pulling the trigger, something the actor has repeatedly denied.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
Baldwin's defense team now says even if he did, it doesn't make him guilty.
Even if he intentionally pulled the trigger like the prosecutor just demonstrated, that doesn't make him guilty of homicide.
Baldwin listening intently as his lawyer slammed assertions he should have checked the gun for live bullets.
He was just acting as he has done for generations.
The jury today shown harrowing body cam footage of the moments after the fatal shooting must ultimately decide who to believe.
He pointed the gun at another human being, cocked the hammer, and pulled that trigger.
This was an unspeakable tragedy. Alec Baldwin committed no crime.
Over the next few days, we're expecting to hear from the film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who was convicted on the same charge 4 months ago. Lester?
Chloe Malas, thank you. In 60 seconds, our exclusive interview, thrown into the water and unable to swim after the Baltimore Bridge collapse. We hear for the first time from the construction worker who somehow survived. Back now with our NBC News exclusive. More than 3 months after the Baltimore Bridge collapse killed 6 construction workers, the one man who survived the fall is speaking out for the first time. He shared his harrowing account with Tom Yamas.
Hold all traffic on the Key Bridge. There's a ship approaching. It just lost their steering.
When the cargo ship Dolly slammed into Baltimore's Key Bridge, causing it to collapse, 7 construction workers were hurled into the Patapsco River.
Like there is no bridge. Like there is no bridge.
6 of the workers would die, all but Julio Cervantes Suarez.
This image is frozen in your head?
Sí.
Why? ¿Por qué?
Porque es el barco que...
It's the ship that destroyed 6 families, he says. For the first time, he's telling his story of survival. Just before 1:30 a.m., as the Dolly was making its way under the Key Bridge, Cervantes and his crew were on a break towards the middle of the bridge, eating in their vehicles.
There's a ship approaching. It just lost their steering. So until you get that under control, we got to stop all traffic.
Though police had been alerted, Cervantes says they had no idea the 947-foot-long vessel was about to hit the bridge. He says suddenly everything started to shake. He witnessed his co-workers all slide into the water one by one, and then so did he.
Do you remember what was going through your head as you're falling into the water?
Pensé que...
I thought we might never get out, he says.
Did you pray? Did you scream?
Gracias a Dios.
He says he thanked God, asked him to take care of his wife and family, and asked for forgiveness for everything he'd done. When the frigid water started to fill his truck cabin, he realized he was alive. And luckily, his car had manual windows. He rolled one down and got out of his truck. But there was another problem.
Do you know how to swim?
No sé nadar.
Cervantes says he floated to a piece of the bridge lodged in the river and started to call out for his co-workers.
Alejandro, Dorian, Miguel.
But he heard nothing. Among those who died, his brother-in-law and his 18-year-old nephew, who he considered a son. He wishes he could have one last conversation with him and thank him for being part of his life.
Gracias por dejarme ser parte de su vida.
Lawyers representing 5 of the victims, including Cervantes, plan to file suit in the coming weeks against all companies involved with the ship. The NTSB has reported the ship had power trouble in the days leading to the disaster.
They had multiple issues, not just before hitting the bridge, but before even getting to this port.
Imagine being on a bridge and watching your friends and family members drop one by one by one before you.
One more incredible note, Julio fell into the water with his helmet, which had a flashlight attached to it. When the search boats arrived, he was able to turn that light on. And Lester, that's how those search boats were able to locate him.
Remarkable interview, Tom. Thanks for bringing it for us. We'll take a break. Up next, they're becoming more and more popular, the increasing concern about the growing use of nicotine pouches, especially among teens. We're back now with the growing health concerns over nicotine pouches. As their popularity soars among teens and young adults, some doctors are now calling on the FDA to halt sales. Vicki Nguyen with the risks you should know about.
Zyn is probably a great alternative to get nicotine without all the other harmful stuff.
On social media, they're called Zynfluencers, people touting nicotine pouches promoted as safer than cigarettes because they're tobacco-free.
Let's do 3.
The most popular brand, Zyn, surging in sales with 131 million cans sold in the U.S. in just the first 3 months of the year.
How did it make you feel the first time you had one?
It gives you a shot of dopamine, so you just feel a little energized, happier, almost focused.
32-year-old Will Lamas says he quickly became addicted to Zyn. Unlike chewing tobacco, vapes, or traditional cigarettes, the pouches are discreet and come in flavors like coffee, citrus, and mint. Soon, he says he was using up to 20 a day.
You put it in your lip, just inside, and just leave it there for 30 minutes.
After a year, Will began to have severe stomach pain, but doctors didn't know why.
I got an ultrasound, I got a colonoscopy, and all they found was that my stomach was inflamed.
His symptoms are not surprising to Dr. Donna Shelley. She says nicotine is a highly addictive drug with side effects including gastrointestinal issues, mouth ulcers, and elevated heart rate.
Why do you think these products are so popular with young people and teenagers?
One is flavors. Also, it's easier to hide that you're using a pouch.
While the FDA is still reviewing the safety of Zyn and similar products, multiple medical organizations have asked the agency to halt sales. Earlier this year, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer also called for a crackdown on the marketing of these products.
Even the amount in this one pouch can be highly addictive.
In a statement, Zyn maker Philip Morris says it's committed to developing products such as Zyn that are scientifically substantiated as a better alternative to continued smoking. Zyn's marketing is directed toward legal-age nicotine users who are 21 and up.
The gray line was my resting heart rate while I was on Zyn. The red line, a week after, was my average resting heart rate from quitting. It showed me 10 beats per minute lower the week after I quit.
After researching his symptoms online, Will suspected the pouches.
Haven't had stomach issues since the day I quit, cold turkey.
6 months later, he says he still has cravings.
If I had known that it was going to cause me so many health issues, I wouldn't have started.
Vicki Nguyen, NBC News, Stamford, Connecticut.
And next for us here tonight, for the first time, we hear from the 2 astronauts being kept in space far longer than anyone had planned.
It's a great place to be, a great place to live, a great place to work.
Finally, 2 astronauts speaking out from space after their return home aboard Boeing's Starliner had some unexpected delays. Here's Tom Costello.
Hello, everybody.
In their 35th day of what was supposed to be a 10-day mission, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams insist they remain confident in their Starliner spaceship.
I have a real good feeling in my heart that the spacecraft will bring us home, no problem.
They've been on the space station far longer than anyone expected after a problem with the ship's thrusters as they approached the station. Engineers on the ground are working to replicate the problem. Made by Boeing, Starliner is on its maiden voyage. Billions of dollars over budget and delayed by engineering challenges. NASA wants to ensure the thrusters don't fail again when the astronauts return to Earth. It seems it's been snake bit at every turn. Are you confident in the performance of the ship for future missions as well?
This is the world of test. This is a tough business that we're in. Human spaceflight is not easy. In any regime, failure is not an option. That's why we are staying here now.
Mission managers still believe Starliner is safe and could be used in an emergency.
The prime option today is to return Butch and Sonny on Starliner. Right now, we don't see any reason that that wouldn't be the case.
Now targeting late July for Williams and Wilmore's homecoming. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
And that is Nightly News for this Wednesday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.